Imagine a massive football player sprinting at full speed across the field. He misses his target, runs into the end zone, and slams violently into the solid steel goalpost. Bam! He bounces backward, reeling from the impact. But here's the wild part. Physics tells us that in the exact fraction of a second he hits that post, the entire planet Earth also recoils backward. So, does the Earth really bounce backward? The answer is an absolute, undeniable yes. When that player hits the goalpost, a force throws him backward. But because of the fundamental rules of the universe, a reaction force is applied right back to the Earth through that very same goalpost. The Earth absolutely has to recoil to conserve momentum. Now, obviously, the Earth is unimaginably more massive than our football player, so its recoil is immeasurably small. You're never going to feel it. But mathematically, physically, it is absolutely real. By the end of this explainer, you're going to completely understand why this happens. We're going to master the core concept of momentum, walk through the mathematical proof behind it, and see how perfectly it applies to real-world scenarios. We'll go from the sheer scale of the planet all the way down to the invisible quantum world. Section 1. The two-car math proof, deriving the formula on an everyday scale. Let's step right into it. Let's step down from the planetary scale to something a bit more relatable. Imagine two train cars or automobiles coasting down a track. The trailing car, car 1, is moving a little faster and bumps right into the back of the lead car, car 2. Let's walk through the math of that collision. In step 1, when car 1 hits car 2, it applies a force over a specific amount of time. In physics, we call this impulse, and it causes a change in momentum. So, the change in momentum for car 1, which we write as delta P1, equals the force acting on it times the duration of the collision. Now, step 2. Thanks to Newton's third law, we know every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the force car 1 exerts on car 2 is perfectly equal, but opposite in direction, to the force car 2 exerts back on car 1. And since the collision time is exactly the same for both cars, their changes in momentum are perfectly equal and opposite. Which brings us to step 3, the magic moment. If you add the change in momentum of car 1 to the change in momentum of car 2, they perfectly cancel out. They equal 0. And this brilliantly illustrates the conservation of momentum principle. Because those changes add up to 0, the combined total momentum of that two-car system remains entirely constant. The total momentum before the crash, P total, is exactly equal to the total momentum after the crash, which we denote with a prime symbol as P total prime. Car 1 slows down, car 2 speeds up, but the system as a whole hasn't lost a single drop of momentum. But wait a second. I just said this applies to a two-car system. The golden rule here is that this only perfectly works for an isolated system. So what exactly makes a system isolated? If you don't define your system correctly, the math just falls apart. Section 2, defining an isolated system, the rule of zero net external force. An isolated system is defined very strictly. It's a system where the net external force is exactly 0. F net equals 0. If friction from the road is dragging on the cars or wind resistance is pushing them, and you don't account for those forces, the system isn't isolated. The only forces that matter are the internal ones. So the crucial takeaway is that momentum can actually be conserved in one direction, but not another. Imagine a space probe separating into two pieces while coasting through the upper atmosphere. In the horizontal direction, air resistance is negligible, so the net horizontal force is 0. Horizontal momentum is perfectly conserved. But in the vertical direction, gravity is pulling the probe down. That's a massive external force, so vertical momentum is not conserved. Unless, of course, you expand your system to include the entire Earth. Then we're right back to our football player example, and total momentum is conserved again. Let's test this with a quick scenario. Imagine a 1.8 kilogram falcon diving at 28 meters per second, catching a 0.65 kilogram dove from behind in midair. Is momentum conserved here? Yes, in that brief moment of impact, if we ignore air resistance, the two birds act as an isolated system. The conservation of momentum perfectly dictates the exact speed your combined bodies will be moving immediately after the catch. Section 3. Nature's Jetpacks. Conservation of Momentum in Biology. Let's move from the skies down into the ocean. This principle isn't just about man-made trains or space probes. It's actually a fundamental survival mechanism in biology. Take jellyfish and squids, for example. A jellyfish fills its umbrella-like body with water. Then it contracts, pushing that mass of water out incredibly fast. Because the total momentum of the jellyfish water system must be conserved, pushing the water backward requires the jellyfish's body to be propelled forward. Squids take this a whole step further. They use the exact same momentum principle, but they have a biological nozzle that they can actually aim forward or backward to steer. They're basically biological jet fighters. And because they utilize the conservation of momentum so efficiently, a typical squid can hit top speeds of 12 kilometers per hour. That is incredibly fast for an animal, essentially just spitting water out of a tube to move. Section 4, Smashing Subatomic Particles, Proving the Law at the Quantum Scale. Now, let's zoom all the way out, past the jellyfish, past the cars, past the Earth, and shrink our focus down to the smallest known scales in the universe. We're talking about the subatomic, quantum level. What's really fascinating here is that even giant particle accelerators rely heavily on this exact textbook principle. Researchers used giant machines to shoot extremely high-energy electrons right at protons, the nuclei of hydrogen atoms. Most of the time, the electrons would pass through or deflect slightly, but occasionally, an electron would hit the proton and scatter straight backward. Because scientists knew that momentum absolutely must be conserved, they calculated the math of that backward bounce. That specific recoil implied that the electron didn't just hit a soft cloud of energy, it hit something tiny, massive, and incredibly dense inside the proton. This was near direct evidence for the existence of quarks, the fundamental building blocks of matter. By simply tracking momentum, we discovered the hidden particles inside our own atoms. But wait, this is important. We've defined momentum using mass and velocity, right? Like cars and falcons. So what happens if a particle has no mass at all? Can massless particles, like the photons that make up the light you are using to watch this very explainer, have momentum? Yes, this is one of the most mind-blowing aspects of physics. Momentum goes beyond just mass times velocity. It's a fundamental property of all subatomic particles, inextricably linked to wave properties. That means even pure light carries momentum and obeys this universal conservation law. Section 5, Summary and Final Thought. Let's wrap this up. What a journey, right? From a football field all the way down to a cork. Before we finish up, let's quickly summarize the key points we've mastered today. First, total momentum is strictly conserved in any isolated system, which mathematically means the net external force is zero. Second, the fundamental formula is simple but profound. Initial total momentum equals final total momentum. Third, always remember the space probe. Momentum can be conserved in one direction, like horizontally, while not being conserved vertically due to gravity. And finally, this rule doesn't care about size. It governs everything from the immeasurably small recoil of the entire Earth to the propulsion of a squid to the discovery of subatomic quarks. I want to leave you with one final, practical thought to test your new physics lens on the world. Next time you're at a pool, think about this professional application. Why do you reach much greater depths when you dive cleanly into the water compared to when you do a flat belly flop? Think about the system, think about the impulse, and think about the conservation of momentum. Keep exploring those questions, and I'll see you in the next explainer.